This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning, and apologies for the delayed start. We've been battling off gremlins left, right and centre, but we are up and running and ready to take you on your live safari from 2 different countries across Africa. My name is Jamie, and this morning Archie is on camera with me, and we are live from the Masai Mara in Kenya. Earlier on this week I was asked whether or not the sunrises and sunsets are better in the Mara or on Djuma, and I really truly sat on the fence, and I said that the sunrises in Djuma were better and the sunsets were better in the Mara. This is an average Mara sunrise, and it's still really quite pretty. Fortunately, the wind that was howling at the top of the hill where our camp is has slowly abated, I think, at least for now, leaving us with crisp and cool temperatures. I have absolutely no idea what the temperature is. If I had to guess, I would say 15 or so. Centigrade, that is. Right, remember, because this is a live safari, and this morning we will be joined by Steph on Bushwalk, so a special treat for everyone. Because this is a live safari, it means that you can send through your questions on #SafariLive on Twitter or in the comments section of YouTube. And that is how you can get hold of us, particularly by asking pertinent questions, but who knows? But we're not going to dwell too long on the sunrise, because as I slowly go into my impending Mara departure, we will be going to North Clan. Lynn, we did enjoy our break yesterday, thank you so much. We really did. It was starting to fray. We were starting to fray slightly around the edges, though it was a really welcome break, and we say a big thank you to the Djuma team for covering the bases while we sat with our feet up. We didn't actually sit with our feet up. We went and did a little bit of a drive around the top of the hill. It's really beautiful up there. We were joined by the hyena researchers, because as I said, I'm going to be going back to South Africa very shortly, and so we're trying to make the most of our time. It was really special to spend some time with them. They've become really good friends of ours. And of course, naturally, we spoke a lot about hyenas. We also spoke a lot about many other things as well. It was really very pleasant. And it's beautiful up on the top of the escarpment. Acacias, green short grass that looks a little bit like a golf course. It's so beautiful. I mean, it looks like someone's manicured it, but that's just how it is. And we sat and we watched the sunset over this beautiful view. Now, the thing about the fact that I started this morning's safari meant that Brent got ahead of me and he's stolen my route. Let's go and find out what he has to say about that.
Good morning, and welcome to another marvelous Masai Mara dawn. And that average Mara sunrise is just getting better and better. Now, I'm feeling quite rock and roll this morning. I don't know about you, Manu. You feeling rock and roll? Oh yeah. So Manu is on camera with me, and we are rock and roll today. So we had a wonderful time yesterday, and we even got to teach Manu and Erin from Michigan State Hyenas about one of the most incredible songs in the world, and that is, of course, the Time Warp from the Rocky Horror Picture Show. So we, on top of the escarpment, taught Manu and Erin about how to do the Time Warp. You know, it's just a jump to the right and a step to the left. And I'm not going to sing, Kirsten. Kirsten wants me to sing. So yes, we're feeling rock and roll. We were rock and roll last night. We're still rock and roll this morning. We're so rock and roll that we started off the morning listening to Jack White. And you can't really get more rock and roll than Jack White. So hopefully the animals are also going to be rocking and rolling around today. And we avoid all rocks. Don't feel like driving over rocks this morning. So we're going to, well, Jamie and I are heading into the same area. I think Jamie's off to North Clan. I'm going to go see if the Paradise Pride or the Magoros or Scar are around the crossings. And if there's any wildly beasts there. And if there are any, then we might hang around, see if they're going to commit suicide in the river. If not, we will meander to the west, down towards Ngarare, and see what we can find. But it is a stunning morning, and it's the first morning in a while we've started without rain, so I'm happy about that. Apparently everyone's typing the lyrics to the Time Warp. Yes. Put your hands on your hips and pull your knees in tight. And I will not finish the rest. There you go. Yes, so we've actually decided we're going to have a movie night to show Manu what the Time Warp's all about. And Dr. Frankenfurter. Now, some of the other girls from Michigan State Hyenas were telling us about, well, we all know what a massive cult classic the Rocky Horror Picture Show is, but the Halloween movie showings in the US, where everyone gets dressed up as the Rocky Horror cast and acts out all the moves in the movie theater. I definitely think if I'm ever in the United States over Halloween, I shall be definitely going to a Rocky Horror evening. Kirsten wants to know, should we do a SafariLive story on the Rocky Horror Picture Show? We could, Kirsten, we could. I think the problem is that you wouldn't have any problem getting James or myself to dress up, but the others we might have a bit of trouble getting the other boys into fishnet stockings. I don't think James and I don't think we'd have a problem, but I couldn't imagine Steph in fishnets. I don't think it would go down well. Oh, what do we got there? Buffaloes. Kirsten says, funny because Steph is wearing fishnets now. Kirsten, I don't believe you. I think you are lying to me. Oh. Actually, let's just stop here again quickly. That sun is about to pop through that low cloud bank in a couple of seconds. I'm just going to stop on this little high piece of ground here. There it comes. There it is, popping over the cloud bank. You can hear all the frogs in the distance. Oh, magic mornings. Now, I always wonder about, and as of course everyone loves a good sleep-in, but when you get to go out into this every morning, the rainy ones, the windy ones, the cold ones are quickly forgotten when you look at something as stunning as that. Oh, pectoral pax testiculars making a noise. Lapwings. And all we need is the roar of the male lion. Magical. So that's definitely a rock and roll sunrise for a rock and roll day. Okay, well, we're going to head off streaming down south as fast as possible. So let's send you across to Jamie, who's just behind me.
There are some images one should never be presented with first thing in the morning, so thank you for that, Mr. Leo Smith. really enjoyed that. So, while Brent carries on and steals my route, I'm going to go around the other way, and we found ourselves some elephants. Unfortunately quite far away from the road, but they just look so lovely in the morning light. Elephant bottoms. As you saw from Brent's perspective, the sunrise did vastly improve, and so we find ourselves with this beautiful, beautiful golden light. I must say, one thing about the Mara is that the light is always spectacular. It's probably, objectively speaking, one of the most beautiful places I've ever been and I've ever lived in. You can see that elephant's mouth is wet around the edges. She might have been drinking, but I think quite possibly it's because the grass is very dewy this morning. It did also rain a little bit last night. Oh, look at that. Here's the Olololo escarpment. That's where we were last night, looking across over the view. It is a truly spectacular morning. The youngster over there. So what you'll see with the elephants around here is that they'll be feeding around these sort of croton thickets and places where it looks a lot greener. And the reason that they do that is because there's termite mounds there, which essentially means that the grass is better quality because the soil is better quality. Pippin, you would like to know if we are able to drive to the forested areas like the forest behind the elephant. Yes and no. There's no real roads in there. I found a secret way into that forest a little while ago that takes you down, right down to the water's edge, because the reason that there is a forest there is because there's a river that runs through it, hence the forest over there. So there's no real roads that travel through those particular areas. I found one secret entrance spot that leads down in there. That's where the Olololos like to disappear, or used to like to disappear when this was still their territory. What we do is, if and when we have time, we'll actually go and walk. Not here, because we cannot walk in the Mara Triangle, nor would we be wandering through there. It would basically be breaking the rules, essentially. But up top, where we live, where our camp is, we can often go through or go for walks, if time allows, through the forest, and you see all sorts of amazing birds, blue flycatchers, Ross's turacos, Narina trogons. It's a beautiful forest. One thing that we did do after the final episode of The Gauntlet was go into the Nyokwiri forest, which used to be an absolutely massive forest behind our camp, and in fact at one point would have stretched all the way to the mountain's edge. And there you can see giant forest hogs, you can see blue, what are they called? Great blue turacos, that's the word I was looking for. And we went there. We saw bush pigs on foot, which was very exciting. But unfortunately it is a forest at great risk at present due to being utilized. The hardwoods are being cut down, mostly for charcoal. It's something that the Kenyan authorities are acting against, trying to keep the forest safe. But it was quite sad to see how it's been cut back over the years. We saw zebra. We were a little bit too noisy for birding, unfortunately. There were too many of us. When you go birding in a forest, you kind of have to be subtle and gentle as you walk through, and very quiet. We weren't, so we didn't see all that many birds. But it was still, it's a very beautiful forest, and if any of you ever find yourself here, I would highly recommend paying it a visit. Colbert, you have no idea how much I am looking forward to bushwalks again, for 2 reasons. 3 reasons. 2 reasons. One, first and foremost, obviously, is Herbie. I am ecstatic that I get to work with him once again. He is a truly fantastic colleague and friend, so I'm really excited about that. Secondly, I have been sitting in a car for on average 10 hours a day. I am very excited to stretch my legs. And thirdly, actually, I want to go and hug a tree. I know that's Steph's domain. Perhaps if we ask him really nicely, he'll even hug a tree for me now, in anticipation. In anticipation of my return. Marula tree, jackalberry, leadwood. I'm not fussy. Any one of those will do. It will be so wonderful to stretch my legs. I am not, on the flip side of that coin, looking forward to the pepper tick invasion that I know is coming. Something about me that Tristan and myself seem to get it the worst. Steph also suffers a little bit. Pepper ticks just love us. Mr. Leo Smith will stride straight through a tick nest and come out the other side without one. Tristan and myself will be left scratching for about a month. So I'm not looking forward to that. Plus I'm banking on the Djuma hyenas coming back and having a den site on Djuma. That's just going to happen. Justin, you're on the same page as I am. Look, I have no doubt that every single guide that is currently on Djuma or has been on Djuma recently... Morning! Anyone else? That was entirely my fault. I'm prattling away, driving in the middle of the road at a very slow speed. I have absolutely no doubt that every guide on Djuma has been looking for the hyena den. Speaking of forests, just to show you how pretty it is, let me go back a little bit. This is what Pippin was asking about, and this is what we get to walk in on top of the hill. We do so with our eyes and ears open because, as you will know, there are no fences in the Masai Mara. So the animals can come and go as they please. Which means you do sometimes find buffalo and elephants in here. And hippo, of course. How beautiful is it, though? You can imagine slipping and sliding on the animal tracks. I think it might be the greenest place I ever did live in. It's vibrantly green. The kind of green that is... I don't know, vital in a way. Verdant would be James's word for it. You know what's quite sad, if we go forward a little bit, is that the Hammerkorps, I'm sure you've all been wondering about them. The Hammerkorps spent months and months constructing this beautiful nest that they never lived in. I don't know why. I don't know what happened. I don't know if they had a second home. There's their nest over there. It's like something's actually destroyed it completely. Hole in it. But honestly, I don't ever actually. I don't know. There. Sad. I think maybe apparently you're getting signal breakup. I don't know why. It shouldn't be, but let me rather not risk it. In. We do apologise for the slight break. Having with our internet. Are we a little bit better? There we go. It might actually have been where I was. The undergrowth there is so thick. Now, since it is such a beautiful morning, I think it will be equally enjoyable to go back to Brent and join him while he looks at some elephants.
Well, we have got a traffic jam. A big grey... Oh, hello. What do you want? Hello, silly. Hello, little one. Are you being naughty? Are you being naughty? What are you doing? Now, if Manu comes out a little bit wider, you'll see how close. There we go. It's almost touching the car. Hello, little girl. Yes, it's okay. Just coming to give us a sniff. And she's coming back again now. Hello, little girl. So, teenage female. Now, we're actually completely surrounded by elephants. They're behind us, in front of us. And I know this herd pretty well. We've seen them quite often. There's a couple of very distinct females in this herd. Now, there's a little boy who's going to be a monster. And look at the size of those tusks, and he's not even 10, 12 yet. Oh, look at the little one. I didn't even notice. Hello, little monster. With a short tail. The hyenas nipped the end of your tail off. What are you doing? Doesn't know how to use a trunk yet, so when you're going to need to get something, you need to put your face to the ground. They have a little stumpy tail. The end's been nipped off. And here's this little boy who's going to be an absolute beast. A little bit to the left, this guy here. And the size of those tusks for an elephant of that age, wow. He is going to have monster trunks. Monster tusks. Stopping for a quick drink. Hello, big girl. There's a very large elephant right behind us. I'm just keeping an eye on her. Oh, there she comes. There's the big girl. Oh, magic. Nice big herd. 25 plus individuals. Moving from the forest down towards the river, or from a small patch of forest. And there are an enormous amount of elephants around it this morning. Christy is wondering, how do you determine an elephant's age? Christy, once they get sort of over, females, once they get sort of over 20, 25, it can be very difficult till they're very old again. But you look at the head, is always a good indicator, and the hips. So let's go to that big female there, that one behind the little boy that's here. So a little bit to the right, sorry. A little bit more. That one. A little bit right. The one there with her back to us. There we go. So you can see a young elephant on the left and an older one on the right. So you start looking at the hip bones and things like that. But the most decisive thing is some of the shapes in the head. They get very, very concaved as the older they get, and the skin sort of seems to sag and be loose around their bodies. Morning ablutions. Oh, the frogs are noisy this morning. Oh, bless you, elephant. Jacqueline's asking, do only the young male elephants get aggressive at cars? No. The young males tend to be a little bit more curious, but we just saw that little female walk right up to us. But as a general rule, you probably have to be a lot more careful around females. They get aggressive with vehicles, particularly females, first-time mothers with young, and they can get a bit jumpy. But as a general rule, I don't find elephants that dangerous. And again, a lot is how you react to them. They are very reactionary. Mambo! In terms of their behavior, quite often elephant behavior is dictated how you are behaving. So if you drive off revving, I mean, you could even make these elephants upset by driving badly. And these are very relaxed elephants. And they're heading into the riverine forest. beautiful. Christopher is asking, are elephant herds smaller in Djuma? I would not say so. I think in the Mara we get both small herds, large herds. So it all just depends on the individual herd. But I would say on average, I mean, if you look at Fang's herd is it's a massive herd. There's 45 individuals in that herd. So I wouldn't say. I'd just say it just depends on the particular group of elephants. And there are lots of different sizes. And you must remember, elephant herds will often come together and then split apart and then come back together. So, I mean, we've just had 25 walk past us, and there's probably another 25 on their way. Let me just move forward a bit for you, Money. So what's happening now is you'll have multiple family groups that will come together and form a really big herd of like 100 ellies, but then they'll split off, and there might be 20 and 30 and 10 and 5 in the different groups. So another really nice big group heading down towards the river. Dara is wondering, when elephant herd meets up, are they social and they play together? Yes, quite often they will, and it's sort of a big social occasion, a big greeting, lots of talking and chatting and saying hi to someone you haven't seen in an age and whatnot. But then you also get situations where they meet up with herds that they don't like, and they can actually become quite aggressive towards. Oh, magic. Quite a few little ones there. And there's that female with the lovely long tusks. And isn't this wonderful? So special, elephants. And it's always great to start a morning with them. Incredible creatures, highly social. Oh, and that light coming through. Very long-tusked females in this group. Oh, it's almost, I just don't even need to talk. This picture just speaks for itself. It is so absolutely stunning. I'm going to be very naughty quickly. Achoo! Achoo! Oh, Mara magic. Apparently, Kirsten told me I can take photos. James Henry always does it. He's a cheat. All the secrets coming out. Oh, man. I'm just going to move forward a little. Oh. No, maybe I'm not. Look at that. So that young female, probably a first-time mom. All of a sudden, her body language changed. She looked a little bit more upset than the rest of the Ellies, but she's okay. I'll just sit here. Looks like she might come investigate us. Oh, beautiful. Hi, guys. Wow. Special stuff. Donna says a beautiful scene. Indeed it is, Donna. It's absolutely gorgeous. Little one! Safe amongst the herd. Actually, even apparently you guys can hear them walking and talking. So amazing. Why don't you look at these two little troubles? There, those two. They're up to mischief. Mischief 1 and Mischief 2. They just both... Oh, there's a beating about to happen. That is a female beating a young bull. She's very upset with him. I'm not sure what he did. I didn't even see what he did, but he was severely scolded and sent packing. You did something very naughty. And there's that female who chased him. She looks like a tussless cow. Big, very big body size. Look, there's a little... Let's go to the middle of the road. So, talking about family groups. So that whole big herd was walking together. But now you can almost see the distinct 3 family groups. So we've got the ones at the back, the one in the middle, and then the one right in front. So you'll find that even though they are related, inside elephant herds, you're going to have very distinct, smaller sort of sex family groups of sisters and their offspring. Naughty boy, what did you do? What did you do to get into trouble? Here comes naughty boy. Now, he's at that age of about 15, 16, where often the females will push them out of the herds and they'll join those little bachelor groups. Look at his tail. He's still nervous from being in trouble. What did you do that upset that lady so much? Were you being an obnoxious teen? Probably. Naughty boy. And you see the sacred ibis behind him. Some water back as well. Okay, well, we're going to let the naughty boy try to regain the herd. We're going to keep heading to the south to see what else we can find next. In the meantime, let's send you back to Steph, who's tramping around on Shank's pony.
How awesome does that sighting sound? And I'm doing exactly the same thing as those elephants were. Just enjoying the morning here. We are far further south than what Brent is, at least. My name is Steph. We've got Dave on camera today, and we are absolutely on bushwalk today. And it has been a fantastic morning so far. We've got a crescent moon above a misty morning, and this haze that is so present at this time of the year, this greyish haze, which comes from a lot of high winds that blow during August, kicking up this very white dust that we have here. And you can see that it's this, you can see how the dust flows away, a whitish dust that gives the air here a greyish quality. But let me show you what I mean. Oh, the sun's coming up as well. We'll look through the trees there. So how's that? Crescent moon, misty morning, warm finally. I'm not a person that easily enjoys getting cold. And you can see the dust in the atmosphere lending the sunrise very red and entire. If the atmosphere was clear, you wouldn't be able to look at the sun at this point. It would be this bright, impossibly yellow sphere that would be radiating. Right now, because of this dust, we don't see it, just this very orange sunrise. Very cool. Now, it is probably going to get quite hot today. It was building up into the 80s yesterday already, and before long we're going to be in October, And we go right up into the 90s, right up into the hundreds as well. In some days in October, we call it Hell Month. And it's just before the rains break and just before the dust settles. Now, the dust is very important for the first rains that we have because it's around the dust particles that the first water coalesces and comes out of gaseous form and will start to form as rain. So the August winds that kick dust up into the atmosphere and give us these fantastic sunrises are actually part of the system here that will eventually bring rain. Now, a lot of people say, how do the plants start to flower and how do the leaves start to come out when it hasn't rained enough yet? Well, it was explained to me last season, which I found quite fascinating. Right now we're going into our driest period. In other words, the surface of the soil here is at its driest. It has the least amount of water in it. The atmosphere has the least amount of water in it. And as the temperature increases, so this gradient between hot and waterless starts to increase between the coldest subsurface or subterranean levels and the water. And what happens is the water gradient or a gradient is created and water starts to come up from the subterranean levels, come up towards the tree roots. And the heat starts to increase transpiration. Transpiration creates a suction effect with the roots underneath the ground. And so water is drawn up into the tree. And the tree then uses that for its new buds and its flowers. And then in about, probably hits it here, hopefully around about November, December, the rain starts to come and then the surface levels are then saturated. And by January, February, oh, look at that. By January, February, March, you will not recognize this place for where we're standing. That tree will have a canopy of dark, lush green leaves. And everything that you see that is brown and grey and dreary will be lush and green and vibrant. An absolute contrast to what it is now. Yo, that is beautiful. Very, very, very cool. All right, what is our plan today? While we're busy having a look at that beautiful sunrise. I didn't really have a plan. My plan was to come on bushwalk and to really enjoy it with all of you. I really enjoy being on bushwalk with all of you out there, and it's really awesome to spend some time and to share whatever new knowledge we've learned over the last few weeks and days and months. I did ask Herbie, though, what he'd like to do, and he wants to go and visit Treehouse Dam. Now, we all know that Herbert, which is our game scout, is also a fantastic tracker, and he's got this intuition as to where he'd like to go and what he'd like to follow up on. And so when we get to Treehouse Dam, I'll be able to tell you what that intuition or what that Herbie itch is, and hopefully it turns into something. This time of the year, there is double the elephant volumes that are present normally. And by double, I mean roughly 900 to 1,000 or so elephant now, between now and November. The reason for this elephant influx into the Sabi Sand Game Reserve is because there's a lot of permanent water here and the vegetation is pretty good. So we're going to see a lot of elephant. Tristan was telling me that he's seen lots of elephant on bushwalk recently. So I'm imagining elephant, buffalo, the attending lion prides to the buffalo. And then, of course, as we go deeper into the dry season and water is sucked into the atmosphere by the incredible heat over the next couple of months, we will see these animals concentrating around those last few water points. We saw it yesterday with Hosanna around Buffelshoek Dam. And we've seen him and Tingana recently around Vuyatela Pan as well. So those are the last two large water bodies. But does Treehouse have any water in it? I don't think so. It has a bit of mud in it, probably. Let's go through here. So I'm told that Jamie Patterson would like me to hug a tree today, and so that's exactly what I'm going to do. I quite like doing things for Jamie, and so let's hug this tree, although I'm a bit nervous about this particular one. I'll tell you why. This is an incredibly large silver cluster leaf. Now, silver cluster leaf trees, I like hugging large trees, and the reason for hugging I like it is because I just feel part of the these things have been part of the environment here for so long, stuck in one place, like an endless stream of let's use a dam cam example and think of how one camera has told such an amazing story of past events. Now, these trees tell the story just like those dam cams do, but for hundreds of years. This is a silver cluster leaf on top of this particular crest. I've never seen bigger silver cluster leaves than I do here, and this is one of the largest ones. And I always like hugging large trees, like hugging a granny it's like hugging your granny or your grandpa. I'm quite lucky to have had my great-grandparents until I was deep into my 30s, and my son has two of his great-grandparents alive, and so I always liken this to hugging my great-grandmother, and it's always a good thing to do, you know. Give a tree a hug. An old tree like this, though, you've got to be quite careful that you don't get black mumbled in the face. And that is why I was just a little bit careful when I came here. Cavities like this and that will harbor any number of reptile, and it is quite easy to get yourself into trouble waking up an angry black mamba or a spitting cobra inside one of these trees. So, you know, just be careful when you do stuff like that. All right, onwards and upwards we go. The sunrise is turning from a red to a yellow at the moment, and will eventually turn into a brilliant white orb when it is over us. Now, a trick that I learned the other day, I'm going to see if I can do it for you here. I always thought that sunrises and sunsets made the sun look larger, because I was told initially that the shape of the atmosphere acts as a lens. But here's a trick that I learned. Take your thumb, put it over the sun. Can you see that there? Yep. And do that at sunrise. And then do exactly the same thing at midday. So you'll do it at midday, and you'll do your thumb up against the sky, and you will notice that the sun is exactly the same shape. For some reason, our brains want to see the sun bigger at sunrise and sunset. But if you use a fixed measure and you measure it, you will see that they are exactly the same size. Pretty cool trick, eh? All right, let's go back up to the Mara with Jamie, who's got a heron.
Thank you, Steph. I really appreciate the fact that you hugged a tree for me. It is an absolutely stunning, stunning morning in the Mara, which means that for us it's a nice opportunity to not just really search for the big cats or the hyenas or anything like that, but to enjoy these close-up views of some of the creatures we sometimes forget about as we're driving along, terribly focused. In this case, it is a black-headed heron. It was quite a lot closer, so we were really enjoying some seriously close-up views, but this is still pretty beautiful. And the sun keeps popping out from behind the clouds and providing us with some spectacular morning light. There's lots of them about at the moment because it's been raining. Oh, there's an ibis as well, just to add to the collection. Because it's been raining as much as it has, the marshy areas are now full of water, and therefore full of frogs and fishes. And that is an insect. That is what both of these birds are after in sort of different ways. You can see from the different style of their beaks that they hunt in different ways. So the ibis is basically sort of sifting and probing the soft mud, searching for mollusks and worms and those sorts of things. Doesn't really... It has a bill that's meant to dig deep and come up with a reward. Whereas the stork's bill... There you go, you can see it digging in there. Very sensitive receptors on the end of that beak. Very, very sensitive to movement. Now, if you look at the stork, you can see basically the way that it hunts. It spears things. And that is literally a spear-shaped bill. And that's what it's after. Frogs, fish, anything that it can find and sneak up on. And they do sneak. They are ambush predators in their own way. Walking slowly, slowly, looking. First it'll stand up tall like that and look. Then it'll creep up to where it sees movement. Then it'll watch carefully. Often for up to an hour at a time. It'll just stand dead still. And then, of course, you get other types of heron, like the night herons that actually attract fish by using leaves or debris as a, basically like imitating an insect that might cause a fish to come up to the surface. There you go, bird, a type of bird that uses a tool. Very pretty. I think that heron has spotted something. It's gone very still. We'll sit and wait in anticipation for it. Nope, it's moving again. Obviously wasn't that exciting after all. It's quite a tatty heron actually. Loose feathers all over the show. I'm a little bit jealous about Brent's elephant sighting, especially because I was meant to be ahead of him. Andy, yes, there are certain predators out here that would catch a bird like this. Crocodiles have been known to do so, particularly the smaller crocodiles, so the younger crocodiles that aren't quite at sort of wildebeest or zebra hunting size. They're not able to do that, so they'll catch mainly fish, but they will also catch water-dwelling birds like these ones. Leopards, servals, caracals. There are caracals out here. Not one of us has seen one. Incoming. Blop. We've been joined by a second ibis. The small cats, jackal, potentially. Although they'd struggle to hunt them. Jackal do actually hunt. And they are quite capable. But birds, they're more likely to go for something like sandgrouse than there are birds like this. So yes, they do have quite a few. And then aerial predators as well. There are plenty martial eagles out here. Martial eagles are the very, very big eagle species. The biggest here. And they can actually soar out. I mean, there was the most amazing series of pictures of a martial eagle eating a stork, if I'm not mistaken. So aerial predators like that would absolutely catch them. Okay, this has been fun. And as much as I would like to sit with a heron all day, time and tide and all that, let's go see what else we can find. Lady Starfire, you want to know what sort of ducks we get in the Mara? We get Kirsty's favourite duck, the white-faced whistling duck. Kirsty likes white-faced, I can't even say it, white-faced whistling ducks. I'll have to stop the car. I can do their call quite well, actually. So we see white-faced whistling ducks, particularly around, oddly, a pan called Egyptian goose, or waterhole called Egyptian goose. Then, of course, there are the Egyptian geese themselves, which are not true geese. And then I'm going to expand this slightly into the geese as well. We also get spurwing geese. But the white-faced whistling duck is the most common duck species that we see. I'll see if I can find some for you. It might be quite nice. Actually, no, because I'm going to go off. I'm going to take the back routes. Just to get me off this road. I'm going to take the back routes through the suburbs. North Clan suburbs. I learnt all the sneaky ways around while I was following them. Okay, while I get off our slightly bumpy road, let's go and join the far smoother Steph on foot.
Far smoother, Steph. I suppose we're not walking on we're walking on the same bumps, we're just not walking as fast or driving as fast. Now, you know, it never ceases to amaze me at the intuition of trackers in this particular area, especially really gifted trackers. Herbie, of course, is a gifted tracker, and as we said goodbye to you, Herbie whistled, and when we kept quiet, there was a whole bunch of impala that were alarm calling at Treehouse Dam. Can you believe it? So something is bothering the impala at Treehouse Dam. Could be a leopard, could be a lion, could be a hyena, caracal, serval, shadow, you know, difficult to say. But the fact is that he called it almost to the point, and it's not just once or twice that this sort of thing happens. It happens all the time, and it is mind-blowing. Happened last night, in fact. We were following Tingana, and he was basically walking away from Buffelshoek Dam. Aubrey went around and parked on a game path. We were about 600 or 700 meters apart, and Tingana turned around and walked directly towards Aubrey. I mean, that type of intuition is something that I wish that I knew how to get, and it's just hours in the seat, hours out here in the bush, and a connection to the land that you're born with. And although you can learn elements of it, unfortunately for me, I think it's one of those skills I'm going to have to learn and work on and hone, and not something that I have an aptitude for. April, you've said that Herbie is one with the animals. Yes, April, you are absolutely right. One with the animals, one with the environment, one with just plugged in, you know. Herbs has lived here forever, and there are many trackers like Herbert. Well, many, I mean, there's a handful of guys in the country like that. But this particular area is very strong with the skill of tracking, or the art of tracking, or the science of tracking, whichever way you want to put it. Oh, here's some elephant dung. How fresh this is. There's a lot of ellies around. Now, I saw the first dung beetle about 2 weeks ago, and I'm wanting to know if there's any here. Now, dung beetles are summertime. And Chris says that Sydney had a dung beetle the other day. Quite nice to see if there's any here. Nothing yet. Now, the difference between this dung and dung in February is that in February, the amount of insect life around a dung pile like this would be astronomical. It would just be heaving. You'd be able to dig in like this, and you wouldn't be able to look. Now, not much now, and it's because there isn't much insect life. Summer is yet to hit Djuma. We've got Spring Day that happened on the 1st of September. And it's not too far away. When I drove into camp yesterday from Hoedspruit is green already, and that's 100 kilometers away. Dixie Village, which is 6 kilometers in that direction, already has flowers on all of the knobthorns, and this will come in a wave. You're going to see this place transform within the next 14 days. So sit down and watch as often as you can, and you're going to see how the bush definitely changes. Now, we've got a new staff member which started yesterday. Her name is Alex. She's sitting in final control right now with Kirsty, and she asked me, how do you age elephant dung yesterday? So I said, you taste it, and you can taste the relative age of elephant dung. So I thought that I'd show you how to do it. You pick a nice fresh pile that you can. You stick your finger into it, deep as you can, sort of to the first knuckle, and then you lick it. And you taste it. And if it's got a little soda tang to it, then you know that it is very fresh. If it's sort of bland and grassy like it is now, then it isn't that fresh. And this one's not that fresh. So, Alex, next time you find a fresh elephant dung, finger in up to your second knuckle and then just lick it clean, and you'll see that if it's tangy and sodery, yeah, that is fresh elephant dung. Yeah. All right, let's see if we can show you this woodpecker. There's a woodpecker at the top of the tree there. David is going to hate me for saying you see where it is there? Yeah. Camera guys, especially David, hate it when the guides go, oh, look at that tiny little fast-moving thing against the blue sky with no contrast. Let's see if we can show it to you. It's probably a golden-tailed woodpecker. The Bennett's woodpecker likes to feed on the ground, and at that size, you probably find it is a golden-tailed woodpecker. Slightly smaller than that is cardinal. I can hear those impala. Listen. All right, they're not too far from here. We're going to go and look for these impala and see if we can find what's causing them to give the alarm call, and hopefully we can pull a cat out of it. Bye.
Ooh, alarm calls. Hopefully Steph finds you some spotted cats in South Africa. We are now well and truly in Scar territory. So hopefully we're going to find some lions shortly. And I head down towards the crossings. Not many wildebeest or anything really around at the moment. Let's have a look on Topi Plains. Hello, Safari Wildman. Safari Wildman says, have the river crossings subsided? They have, a lot. And most of the crossings this year were down south. There have been very few crossings up in the northern crossings. Is that car, what is that car? Oh, it's the water researchers. Looking at the Topi. Oh, but it is a time for little ones. Let's go see what Jamie's got.
Look what we found. It's adorable. Must have been born a few hours ago. This is very early. Very early indeed. It is a brand new wobbly-footed Topi calf. Hello, little thing. You look just like a goat. Look at that. It is so early in the year, I'm absolutely astounded. Oh, mind you, it's not, actually. We're in September. I keep thinking we're in July. But actually, they should start to give birth in October, so it's not that early. Oh, little tiny thing. It's still got its umbilical cord attached. Yes, you've well and truly mastered how your legs work. It looks a little sort of clockworky. Such long legs for such a tiny little creature. What's important, it's got to be able to keep up with Mum. Oh, hop, 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 hop. Well done, Mom. Look what you made. Yes? Oh, now we're curious. We're being very brave. Indigo girl, you say cuteness overload. Oh, bye then. We're going to sleep. Oh, no, that's not a good spot to lie down. That's mushy and muddy. Where are you going to go sleep? Well, it's picking its way through the grass. Are we going to sleep here? Oh, isn't it phenomenal that within 20 minutes of birth that little thing has mastered its legs. Now already, a few hours later, it's exploring. Oh, bye-bye. Yes, that's just your mom. You don't need to be afraid. It's just your mom. You're okay. You're okay. I know it's a big, new and very scary world. Ray, you say that you love its ears. I love its ears too. I love its ears and its long legs. These long, spindly, ridiculous-looking legs. Oh, it's tiny. You can see it's still damp. It's still got... It must have been born sometime in the early hours of this morning. Good timing from Mom's side, although it could be better. Ideally, what antelope would do in an ideal world if they had full control would be to give birth as it starts to heat up in the morning, when most of the predators are fast asleep, because that gives the little one the longest period of time. Oh, it's so cute. The longest period of time to master their legs before night falls and the dangers triple. Oh my goodness, it's invisible. Really easy to see why the colouring is so different from that of the adults, because this baby topi has basically vanished into the grass. It is next to invisible now, and it really gives you a good idea as to why they have that beige colouring, quite common to a lot of the larger antelope species. Waterbuck, roan, sable, anything like that. You'll find that the calves, who spend a lot of time hiding, are light beige in colour. And in fact, roan and gemsbok and sable calves all look very, very similar when they are first born. Well done, Mum. She's still got, as you can see, she's still got some residue around her tail. So it really was quite a recent birth. Marta, the umbilical cord could stay attached for the next few days or so. So essentially what happens is there's no one to cut the cord out here in the wild. So it will dry out and eventually fall off itself. So Mom probably ate the placenta, which would have detached from... Is there another one? There's another one at the back there. All the way behind, there's those topies at the back. There we go. There's two! My goodness. It's been a birthing spree. Did you ladies all coordinate this or something? Because if so, I take my hat off to you. Well done. Look at that. Brand new topies everywhere. How exciting is that? Oh, please let us get a birth live. That would be such an epic send-off from Amara. If we could see one of these topies being born. We've come so close in the past. You know, as I said that, I looked behind me where the camera can't see, and I saw a female lift up her tail, and I got very excited, but she's just defecating. I've made that mistake before repeatedly. I even got Nikki on the radio once telling her she had to leave what she was doing and come and watch immediately because I had a giraffe giving birth. But it turned out to just be a very pregnant, very constipated giraffe. So I have made that error before. Careful, stay away from the woolly-necked stork. It's not your friend. Not that it would hurt it. Oh, all the wobbly-legged topies in the world. This is amazing. And here I am talking nonsense about how early that one was, because I've completely lost track of where I am in the year. Jason, can a topi calf outrun a hyena? They're actually very fortunate, because in those first few moments, no, probably not. In the first day or so. And remember that hyenas hunt by basically exhausting the animal that they're chasing and by waiting for it to make a mistake. So particularly in this muddy, swampy area, the chances of a baby topi not falling down are very slim. So these topi calves have actually been fortunate. Their mothers, though, are quite large, and they do defend them. However, if North Clan were to gang up, as they do, then there would be a good chance that they would catch a topi calf. Oh, breakfast time. I'm so excited. Headbutting Mum to stimulate the milk production or milk descent. All I can hear in the distance is a hippopotamus having a serious fight. Oh, look at them wobbling through the mud. Oh yes, that's it, that's right. Practice all you can. Although don't go running into the bushes. That would be a bad idea. You don't know what's behind those bushes. Wouldn't go too far away from Mum. There's that one young male lion hanging round here, and you would be the perfect appetizer, so be careful. So at this point, they're sniffing everything. They won't be eating solid food yet, although they'll wean quite quickly. Charles, as far as I know, no. Topi calves are not odorless to protect them from predators, but I could be mistaken about that. I've never actually grabbed one and had a jolly good sniff. There might be studies on it, I'm sure there are. I mean, ideally baby animals should be odorless, but how odorless could they possibly be? I found that topi are not particularly smelly antelope. They don't smell... Oh, yes, Mum, well done. There you go. Give your baby some breakfast. Unfortunately, they are quite far away, but there's not much we can do about that. And the other one that was closer is still fast asleep in the grass, so we can't see it. I'm not sure. I don't think they're odorless, but then I've never found topi to be particularly pungent. I'm quite excited. You know what I've also noticed is that there's lots of baby warthogs about. We might have a baby-filled drive. Tina, topi females will probably stand a little bit aside from the rest of the herd, but I don't think that they move too far away from the protection of the group and the sharp eyesight. There's certain animals that do move away slightly. Impala move away a little bit from their herd, but they're never that far away. Thompson's gazelle, the same thing. They'll move away a little bit, whereas the buffalo, if she can, will try and take herself off completely, because buffalo get totally hysterical when a female is giving birth. There's something about the smells and the hormones that just drive them to distraction, and they end up chasing the female round and round and round and round most of the time. So she'll try and take herself away. A giraffe will take itself away if it can, but herd antelope like this will not go too far. They'll be around. Now, I suspect in a situation like this where you don't actually have a big topi herd, I suspect that they'll stay quite close, especially if they give birth at night, which is what it looks like these females have all done. I think these calves are only a few hours old. I mean, gosh, I know we took the day off yesterday, but now all of it, everything's changing. So sweet. Yes, Carol, it'll only be one calf per birth, and you might find that there are rare cases of twins, but for the most part, basically what the topi has to create, the same goes for impala or Thompson's gazelle or even giraffe. They've got to, the babies have got to have phenomenally long legs to be able to run away from predators and to be able to keep up with the rest of the herd, which is why these calves look so thoroughly spindly, as if they're on stilts. They've got disproportionately long legs, and as a result, there's not actually that much room for a second calf, or in the case of impalas, a second lamb. It does happen, but it's incredibly rare, and the survival is quite unlikely for both of them because they'll be born smaller. So cute. I wish I could stay with them all day, but it's such a tricky area and I'm not allowed to off-road after the topi. So as they move further away, it's going to be... Oh, what did you smell? What did you smell? Panic, panic, back to Mum. I see that the topi are also... The females are still... Apart from the fact that the calves are wet, the females still haven't actually regained their normal shape after giving birth. They're still quite round, which suggests to me, because of course their bodies don't go back to normal straight away, it suggests to me that these calves are really, really young. A very recent birth. Cute. What a lovely discovery. Yes. Jeanette, we were talking about martial eagles earlier, and a martial eagle could absolutely, unequivocally make off with a topi calf. It would be unlikely, it would be quite rare to see, but martial eagles in particular have a reputation for hunting antelope, small antelope, and a baby topi would fall into that category for the first few days of its life. After that, they start getting too big for a martial eagle to take. But even then, essentially what a martial does is it comes speeding out of the sky and basically rams into its prey. So that massive sort of collision is what causes the death of the antelope. The martial doesn't have to be able to pick it up and fly away with it. So they've been known to kill impala, they've been known to kill steenbok, and a topi would be around about that size. So yes, there are raptors that would be a danger to these tiny little creatures. Mom's got to be careful. And unfortunately you'll find probably, I would guess at around 15% of the calves that are born this year will not survive, maybe even more. Right, on that thoroughly happy note, it's not just spring in the Masai Mara, and I'm sure that the impala on Djuma are starting to look rather big as well.
They are starting to look rather big, and we found the impala that were alarm calling a little bit earlier. In fact, we found Tandi as well. She's around us where we're standing now. We can't see her. She was bothering these impala. We came through here, we had a brief sighting of her exactly where we're standing now, and she's moved off and slunk off through these trees. So she slunk off through here, we can't see her, and we're reluctant to follow and chase her through here. She's obviously seen us, she's moved off, created some space from these impala, and we don't want to bother her any more than we're bothering her right now. The reason for that is a leopard, this is the time that leopard hunt quite often, and if she hasn't caught anything, she has got a cub to feed, and not only a cub but herself. It's a very difficult thing for a mom to do. So we're not going to pressurize her anymore. If she comes out of the bush again and she starts walking on a road and a vehicle sees her, and that'll be fine. But people on foot pressurizing her, it's just something that we're going to leave alone. So we found her. She is in this area. She looked healthy when we saw her, and she's moved off into these bushes. And so now we're just going to create some distance, and we're going to walk in the opposite direction, and we're going to see what else we can see for the morning. So Tandi on foot, couldn't show you, but we do know that she's okay, and that's always a good sign. So we know where she is, which is a nice thing. We know where to start looking, at least this afternoon. Whew, I tell you, when you are coming through the bush here and you're hot on the heels of some predator that's causing impala to bark, and squirrels are going crazy and birds are making a noise, I tell you, it's quite exciting. You don't quite know what's going to jump out of what bush. That little jerk there was David, unfortunately trying to suicide himself into the ground. Fantastic save there though, Dave. Well done. Right, let's go through here. Whew, just try and calm everything down after something like that. It's amazing how the adrenaline rush that you feel increases all your awareness and your senses. You've got to watch out. You are tracking something dangerous. There's a very big chance that you can disturb something at very close quarters, and you never quite know what the reaction of these animals is going to be. In her case, luckily for us, I think, is also because the bush is fairly open. She saw us from far away, and she started to move away before we could give her a fright, or she could give us a fright. Actually, there's an owl here. Let's go find him. Gabriella, I've got some news for you on Tingana's kill from last night. He's lost it to some hyena. So this morning the update on the radio was that Tingana's Nyala kill, he was nowhere in sight, and one hyena was feeding on that Nyala kill. So unfortunately he has lost his meal, but luckily for him, I think with a belly this fat, he's not going to need anything for the next couple of days. Smokes, this is a massive snail shell. Hey? Have you ever seen one this big, Dave? Look at that. This is this shell from a giant land snail. This is the largest of all the snails that occur on land, and was probably killed by the larvae of a firefly. They have this very ugly looking larvae that buries into the snail and then eats it and kills it eventually, and then you find these shells all over the place. And as Kirsty just pointed out, a fantastic drinking cup for me, and I think I'm actually going to keep it. My old drinking cup's looking a little bit sad, so I need a new one, and this one probably hold a good, I don't know, 300 mils of water. I'll test it when I've emptied it of sand. Now, what made me come in this direction was an owl call. Let's see if we can find him. He's in one of these bushes here. He'll probably be pretty low down. Franklin. So this is called a heart attack bird. You see the Franklin right here? Now, under normal circumstances, you won't be able to see them because they are hidden by green grass. You see him there? Now watch what happens when you walk close by, especially when you're tracking leopard. all of a sudden, and of course this one now won't do it, but all of a sudden they burst out of the grass in front of you and fly away, and they can give you the most unbelievable fright. So we call them a heart attack bird. All right, now a few of you are wondering why we don't have any of our vehicles out today. Well, quite simply, we've got Brent and Jamie out in the Mara enjoying a game drive together, and we've got myself out on a walk, and we've got James in the tent who is busy training So, you've come back to us after being away for a little bit. We just lost the internet there for a little while. As you know, bringing you a high-definition show from the middle of Africa sometimes has its problems. Now, right here, we've got Impala busy making a massive alarm call in the exact opposite direction to the direction Thandi disappeared in. Now, I don't know what that is. Those Impala are calling from just through there. Maybe Shalamba, maybe Tingana. They're definitely seeing a leopard. Come, let's go. We've got cars around. It's exciting. You never know what's happening. Today's just alive. And excuse me, and I was busy with a story there as well on why we don't have any Djuma vehicles out today. So I'm on foot, obviously because I really enjoy being out on foot. There's only James and I here at the moment, and James is busy training Toli, which we're hoping to put into the seat to see, enjoy a game drive with him over the next few days or so. So James is busy doing what James really does well, and that is imparting knowledge in his usual James style. And that is why James is not out this morning, but he definitely will be this afternoon again. And so fear not, James will be back and we will have vehicles out again today. Now, Sarah, you ask a good question. Would an Impala alarm at me? Yes, but not in these circumstances. So in areas where people hunt Impala, they see people as predators, and they will alarm call at people when people are hunting Impala. Here, people don't hunt Impala, and so they don't see us as predators, even though we are. I know it's a bit contradictory. We've said other things in the past, like people are predators. We've got forward-facing eyes, upright postures, quite aggressive, precocious things. But, and it's a big but, we crucially don't do any hunting in these reserves. And so what happens is animals like Impala see us as just part of their natural environment with no threat. And sorry, I'm just getting a little bit caught up in just trying to make sure we don't we don't wear a leopard or a lion as a hat here. Let's just go through this thick bush here. Here's a vehicle. Okay, so we've got, looks like Aubrey is right here. He also responded to the alarm calls. Those Impala are about 60 to 100 yards or so in front of us. Now, drainage lines like this are where leopard love to walk, and so you just have to approach them with a little bit of caution. Let's see what we can see here. Come into the open here with me. excuse me going quiet. I just have to listen. What we don't want to do is scare anything firstly, and secondly, we don't want to be scared. Particularly not me. Okay, so we've got Herbie in front of us, plus Aubrey. We're okay. Everything's safe and sound. Let's go on top of this termite mound. Oops. See what we can see here. Alright, so you can see Herbie there in the distance. He's already across this particular drainage line. He's busy staring in the direction of where we heard the alarm calls. His usual posture, and you can see over his right shoulder there's an impala there, it looks like. Not 100% sure. Can you see that? Not really, eh? Is it just my own eyes? I wonder if Tandy hasn't circled back and is going back towards Lalamba. Quite possible. Alright, let's go and look for a place to cross here. If you're wondering who is on camera today, it is none other than David Eastor. There you go. For those of you who are quick enough to view David's thumb there, you would have noticed that David's thumb can bend backwards more than my thumb can. And very similar to how people can either twist their tongues in a circle or not, that bent thumb that you can see from David is characteristic of genes. There you go. Now you either have that or you don't. And that shows that David and I are definitely not related, thankfully. Alright, we're going to run through this dip. We are probably going to lose signal for a little bit. Oh, we're not. David shakes his head. We're not going to lose signal, but we are going to march through here just in case it gets a bit weak. So stick with us. We won't be here very long to the other side. So, some of you are wondering also why Herbie was so far ahead of us. Quite simply because I was nervous about crossing this ditch and losing signal, but David says that my fears are unfounded. Our technical wizards have managed to make signal in this particular area so robust that even going through a dip like that does nothing to the feed. Shows you how long ago I was out here with you guys, you know. Amazing. I should actually get out some more. It's bad of me. Alrighty, let's catch up with Herbs. See what is making those alarm calls. You might be wondering why you're not flipping between myself and the Mara just yet. And it's because we've lost the Mara. And so you are unfortunately with me for now. And for a bit. Which means that all that hard work that David does in the gym is today going to be put to the test. And you will be looking at my bald head for a lot of today. Alright, now we are very close to where we saw those impala. Big bucks, you want to know, speaking about my bald head, why do I carry a hat but you never see me wearing one? Same reason I carry this massive sword and never use it. Paraphernalia, I think. I do wear a hat, Big Bucks. I just don't like wearing it when I'm on camera. And the reason for that is quite simply down to the training I received as a young field guide. A hat creates a shadow across your face, and can quite often, the purpose of the hat is to shade your eyes from the sun. What that does is it creates this contrasting line and breaks eye contact. And at the camps where I was learning how to be a field guide, breaking eye contact or not making eye contact or having any interference in eye contact was considered great taboo. And so I just have this sort of vestigial habit, I suppose, of not wearing hats when I'm busy speaking to you, simply because I don't want that shadow line across my face. Here's the impala here. Okay. So we found the impala. Somewhere here is a leopard. Now, in grass like this, you'd be surprised how easy it is to miss an impala. For those of you who were lucky enough to watch the sunset safari last night, we were contrasting the back of Hosanna's coat to his belly, and the massive difference between the white of his belly and the tawny color. You see how the impala all grouped up together? No one wants to be on the outside. That is where you're most vulnerable, so everyone's pushing for a spot in the middle. Ooh. And that nervousness that you associate with that clumped up behavior, dead quiet, they're not making a noise, means that somewhere here we've got one of the great cats, and I'm hoping that it doesn't jump out right here next to me. They can get quite scary when they do that, I must be honest. And you'd be surprised at how quickly they can hide just underneath a bush that you walk right next to. Right, this is where they were standing. Here is their fresh dung here. You can see that this doesn't even have sand on it yet. Sand is still sticking to it. Alright, let's check termite mound. So there's an enormous termite mound there. The next big termite mound is there. Herbie's checking it now. And now it's just plugging your senses in and seeing what comes up. So, bird's alarm calling, that gut feel that I was talking about yesterday. What is the bush trying to tell us? Now I'm hearing some birds alarming there, but they don't seem too panicked. Everything I have telling me to go this way. I'm compelled to walk this way, so let's walk this way. Now, Carol, you'd like to know if quiet in the bush is a good thing or a bad thing. Carol, it depends on the circumstances. Generally speaking, you want to try and be as unobtrusive and as quiet as possible. That's generally speaking. But there are times when you want to make a noise. For instance, tracking a lion or a leopard into thick bush, specifically reed beds, I like to make a noise. The reason for that is that I don't want to disturb something sleeping in a reed bed or hiding in a reed bed. I want them to know that I'm coming. So quite often I'll clap my hands or throw a stick or talk very loud as I'm approaching a reed bed. Everyone has different opinions as to should you, shouldn't you, I do this in this circumstance, I do that in that circumstance. But for me, going into thick bush, I like to make a noise. Elephant herds can sometimes move towards you, and at some point you are going to let them know that you are there. You're going to click your fingers, you're going to talk loud, you're going to clap your hands, and they will then know that you are in that area. So it's circumstantial, Carol. It really just depends on what you're doing and the bush that you're in. Right now, there's enough of us here with these impala to, I think, have given whatever was hunting them a bit of a fright. Leopard are very secretive things, and unlike how they react on vehicles, they can see people on foot as a bit of a nuisance in the Sabi Sands, even a threat, and will turn around and walk away. For instance, Tandi that we saw just now, she just carried on walking. She saw us, slunk off, tried to hide a little bit, slunk off again, and then disappeared. And that was at that point that we just said, no, we're gonna stop pushing her and move away. Now, what could be here? Tlalamba could be here. Tingana could be here. It's difficult to say. Okay, these impala are still looking in this direction. There they are there. They've now spread out a little bit. What do you call it? A bait ball. So they shoal up, and everything is churning because the fish on the outside are making termite mounds and game paths. So you're on a game path now. Leopard will very often walk on game paths because of the lack of vegetation, and it's quiet. And you can see there at that you lost us for a brief second there. Obviously we're having a few problems with our feed here today, everybody, so just bear with us while we sort it out. I know I can drone on terribly, so excuse me for that, and we'll try and do whatever we can to try and keep the show going and obviously keep you guys up to date with what's going on. All right. Now, what I'm told by Kirsty is that we've managed to get the Mara back, and so what we're going to do is see if we can dig out whatever's been scaring these impala here, and hopefully when you come back we'll be able to show you.
Well, welcome back to the Masai Mara. Our tech team has been desperately trying to get us back, and that white-backed vulture looks desperate for a meal. I think what happened is it saw a couple of marabou stalks, thought there might be a meal down here, came and landed, and found nothing. Poor vulture. And in the big cat front, we've found nothing so far. So we're going to keep moving. We've checked sort of the normal haunts of the Musketeers, Paradise Pride, Magoro Pride. There's one more area I want to check. Hopefully that is where they are hiding. Oof. It's got colder and colder this morning. It started off actually quite pleasant, but it's literally it's getting colder and colder the longer the morning goes on. But it should start warming up again shortly. Where are the Ryons? Where are the Ryons? Let's go try and find the Ryons. And while we do that, Jamie's got some striped donkeys to show you.
I've absolutely no desire to find a lion this morning. I'm going to tell you what I am going to do in a little bit. But first, I just thought this was really pretty because the sun is behind the zebra, making the sky look almost white. And it just looks, it's just such a beautiful background. They were posing in a much more photogenic manner a little bit earlier as they were grooming each other. And admittedly, the one in the front could use a bit of a bath if it was going to perfect the image, but that's still really pretty. All the zebra up on top of the ridge. It looks like there's a... Ah, the zebra in front ruined it. Look, it's a interspecies romance. Ah, you ruined the effect. I hope somebody got a screenshot of that. If you did, you can share it, as you know, on hashtag SafariLive on Twitter. We'd love to see it. There's some very alert impala. Right, let me tell you what I've been up to while the tech team's been battling off gremlins, and poor Steph has been holding the show for us this morning. So, I have driven past about 6 or 7 baby topies. Unfortunately, all in this marshy pit. And I tried to sort of drive around in the direction of North Clan Den, but actually more importantly towards the Topi. But the road is an absolute marsh. There is nothing that I can do to get there without trashing that road completely. So my thinking is we're going to go to the giving birth. Unfortunately, all the Topi I've stopped at have been males since I left the others. So in other words, probably not going to give birth. So we're going to the burn. We're going to the burn now, because I'm actually quite far away from it. So we're going to go to the burn, and we're going to find a Topi giving birth. That is my goal. Patricia, you know, we actually don't really know when the migration is going to end. So Patricia's question is, since it started late, is it going to end late? And I think the answer to that is yes. And the reason I think that answer is yes is because of the burn. I think it's going to keep the wildebeest and the zebra here slightly longer. And there's been plenty of rain, so that grass is lush and green. I think it's going to keep them here a little bit longer. I could be wrong. I've been in the Mara for a year and a bit now, and I've seen one migration come and go. I'm not really, by any stretch of the imagination, a migration expert or a Mara expert, but that would be my guess. What I would do, and what I will do, is speak to the people who have lived here for years and years. And in fact, what I would do if I were you is ask Gigi that question when he returns on next week. Because then you've got somebody who's actually watched the coming and going of several years worth of migration and is much better placed to answer it. I'm guessing. But perhaps you need someone to give you a more educated guess than mine. I think they're going to stay longer. So what we're doing is I should, in theory, I don't know where the herds have moved to because we weren't out yesterday, but I should in theory be taking you into the center of the migration, and then we should find some herds of topi along the way. I think, I could be wrong, but I think that the females almost do synchronize their births in one area. So I think that the smell of the hormones or something triggers one after the other, after the other, after the other. And I'm hoping if we get this right, we'll actually catch that as it's happening to a different herd a bit further away from these marsh-bound topi. And the little ones that are going to be born on the burn have it much easier. They don't have to go picking through deep water and mud and all of that. So that's my plan. Partly because I've been foiled completely by how wet it is. I'm hoping it's going to lay off the rain for a bit before I leave, so I can actually get to North Clan's den site. I'm going to do this bit quite quickly. There's a vast open space of nothing. Our final control back in South Africa tells me that there are many of you out there who managed to screenshot our interspecies love affair between the zebra and the impala. Thank you, well done. I wish I'd got a photo of it. It's very cool. The Romeo and Juliet of the, I mean, it's a very hackneyed comparison, isn't it? The Romeo and Juliet of the animal world. I couldn't think of a better one. As we know, it ended very well for Romeo and Juliet in their 3-day romance. Slight extreme responses. Anna-Marie, yes, the impala can give birth at all times of the year in the Mara, but there is most definitely a peak season around about now when the short rains are on their way. So there'll be probably two peak seasons. There'll be a peak season for the short rains, and there'll be a peak season for the slightly longer rains, where there's plenty of food around and the grass is nice and green and rich. But essentially there doesn't have to be a particular breeding season in the Mara, because really the food is always green and rich and lush. So that's why it's completely different to the South African impala that have to wait for the first rains of spring before they are able to give birth, because otherwise their babies wouldn't actually be able to survive. The mothers have to produce milk, so they have to eat well, And it's again why the rams in the Mara are as large as they are. There's constant competition. It doesn't rest up. They always have the possibility of a female coming into estrus and being ready to mate with. So they've got to be on their peak fighting form for the majority of the year. Right, let's go find some topi. We're getting closer to the burn now. I'm going to nip off the road. Okay, as the search begins for the birthing topi, Brent is also driving, searching presumably for something else, but who knows? Sorry about that, you'll never know what Brent was searching for because, well, he has... Hi guys. He has no audio. Hi. Oh dear, this is always so awkward. Hold on a sec. Morning everyone. Hi. Good, thanks. How's it going with you? Sorry, I've got to go. We're live. Cheers guys. That was a relatively easy escape. We are not, of course, they don't obviously realize that we're live. I think we need to get a light or something that flashes saying live, do not disturb or something. Because it's difficult for us, we can't put them on camera, I've got to kind of dodge. So it's always a bit awkward. Right, topi, I see topi. Do I see baby topi? Oh, I think I found us more males. That's not good. That's no good. Let's have a quick look. I did not think when I started out my morning that this would be the direction that we were going in. The topi search. Searching for toddling topi. No, they're boys. Tricky to tell, actually, especially for some of our newer viewers. Where's it gone? There was another one there. Must have vanished behind a termite mound. Oh, there he goes. So it's tricky to tell with topi. Ooh, that's not a male. That looks like a pregnant female. Excuse me, ma'am. Are you giving birth anytime soon? She doesn't look quite as large as the others have. Hello? Yes? No? Well, I think we will continue along this theme and search for a birthing topi, but Brent's in.
Well, there we go. I know Jamie was looking for little toppies, but we found two little topi with their moms. Very, very cute little things. And one's not even as tall as the grass. Still quite wobbly. Oh, very, very cute. Going to have a snooze in the grass, and you can see how they completely disappear, how well that camouflage works when they lie down. Sticking close to mom. So sweet. Watch out for the hyenas, guys. Okay, so I'm hoping that there are some lions around. Morning, Maritza. Maritza would like to know, when did the topi start getting dark in color? Quite soon, actually. A month or two, they'll start darkening, but they'll maintain that lighter color, especially while they're vulnerable, so they can just disappear into the grass. And one of their defensive strategies is to keep dead still. So, what do we got here? So this is the little patch of thickets that I'm hoping the lions are, because I've checked all the other patches. But so far, just nothing. Not even a topi or a tommy. which means there could be lions around if there's no game around here. Oh no, there's some impala. Oh dear. I think we're going to have to move areas. We're not winning here around the crossings today. Okay, I'm going to head out of this area, head into a different area. Hopefully we're going to be able to find you some big cuts. And while we do that, let's go see Jamie, who's got some of the cleanup crew.
Alright, well Brenty heads out of this area. We've actually got quite a spectacular view. These vultures have been phenomenally obliging in where they've chosen to sit. They're sitting on termite mounds with the sheer numbers of the migration behind them. And if there is not a more iconic impression of the migration, then I don't know what is. I mean, that really just says it all. The escarpment, the beautiful Mara light shining. There's the lappet-faced vultures. Lappet-faced vulture, singular. Surveying. For these birds, this is an absolute utopia. Most of them are actually now trying to warm up for the rest of the day. That one looks as though it's been feeding. It looks a little bit mucky to me. It looks as though it's got blood round. Another ruples. There's definitely something down there. I'm going to guess, judging by the sheer number of people who are all hot-footing it in that direction. I'm sure there's lions somewhere around there. Must be. But I thought I saw something else, and I've lost it now. While I was talking to you about the vultures, my eye caught something, and now I can't see where it was. I actually thought I saw a lion. There, I think I do see a lion. Ah, Brent. Wait, let me just check that it is a lion first before I start gloating. Pretty certain it is. I think it might even be that young male I saw not so long ago. Where am I looking now? I've lost it again. No, it's patch grass. Oops, my bad. Embarrassing. Never mind, I won't gloat. I will not gloat. I thought I'd found a lion, but it is in fact not a lion. So we can go back to talking about the vultures and the fact that they are really the animals that get the most out of a migration, in my opinion. They're always present. There is carnage galore, and for them it is a fantastic time of plenty. Which is great, because a lot of them have chicks at the moment. So it would be really, it's a really positive thing for them to be able to keep themselves and their babies well fed. For a species that numbers drop. Bernie, I caught the first part of your question, and I hope I haven't missed the most crucial factor. Bernie's question was, what is the biggest bird in the Mara? Now, I think that was the question. I don't think there was a caveat to that. Ah, biggest bird in its wingspan. Ah, no, you see. Here's the tricky thing. So a lappet-faced vulture has one of the largest wingspans of the birds that we see out here. Doesn't make it the biggest bird, but it does have a massive wingspan. In its own way, kind of larger than the biggest bird, because the biggest bird, incoming, is an ostrich. And ostriches, because they can't fly, don't really have a particularly impressive wingspan. They're big, so it looks bigger than it is, but for their size, it's quite a small wingspan, whereas this lappet-faced vulture probably has a wingspan of around about 2.5 meters or so. That's about 8 feet would be the wingspan of the lappet-faced vulture. Then if you go on to the heaviest flying bird, which is the Cory bustard, which we get here as well, I think their wingspans will be slightly smaller than that. So it's tricky. You can't. You have to define what you mean by biggest bird. There's the heaviest bird. There's the heaviest flying bird. There's birds with big wingspans like martial eagles and lappet-faced vultures. I'm going to do something terribly naughty. I'm going to take a picture. I'm sure I can deal with the consequences as they come. Just one. Because that was pretty. Okay. No one will ever know any different. Apparently Brent's also been doing it. But look how cool. If we just go back to the lappet-faced, sorry, I'm just watching them now. I'm trying to work out if we've got a mated pair. And we probably do. Probably got a male and a female here, the female being slightly bigger. Look at the size of those talons. Sarah? Oh, you're calling our leopard-faced vultures ugly? Sarah wants to know if the babies are as ugly as the adults are. Let's face it, no altricial bird baby, chick, that's the word I'm looking for, no altricial chick is a particularly pretty thing, if we're honest with ourselves. Most of them hatch relatively ugly. But I think baby vultures are quite cute. They get that soft, fluffy, grey, feathery down, which I think is quite sweet. And while they might not be the most beautiful birds, I do think that they have a certain austere, very dignified look to them. They're just so enormous. Slightly sinister in that if you were to go and try and catch one, you would find yourself on the receiving end of a bite that could probably sever skin from bone. They've got very powerful mouthpieces. Mouthpieces, also known as beaks. Mouthpieces. Stupid thing to say. But yeah, the chicks are... Well, I guess you could almost say the chicks are cuter than the adults. At least they don't have heads that certainly bring to mind anatomical parts that are not heads. Blake would like to know where the vultures make nests, not only the mountains and the Mara. Right, so the vultures will make nests, the lappet-faced vultures will make their nests on top of gardenia trees. The white-backed vultures and the Ruper's vultures have a tendency to make these ridiculously fragile-looking nests on the tops of balanites trees. Or occasionally, if you're in the Kruger, you'll see their nests on the tops of, what do you call them? Knobthorn trees. Oh my goodness, this is going to be a fun ride. If I go back to June and I can't remember what a knobthorn's called. So they make these ridiculous twiggy nests on the tops of these spindly-looking trees, and they always look so fragile, but they're actually very strong. Hooded vultures, which is a smaller species of vultures, nest in a totally different way. They'll actually go along to jackalberry trees along the river, and they will build their nests hidden in the canopy of the trees rather than right on top of a spindly thorn tree. So there's different approaches for different vultures. Cape vultures, which are actually the most endangered species that you'll commonly see in the Kruger. You might see a white-headed vulture, which is even more so. They will nest on cliff faces. And you find that there's nest sites in places like the Drakensberg in South Africa. There's a whole load of different approaches. I didn't realize before I got to the Mara that lappet-faced vulture pairs like this one nest on gardenias. A gardenia, for those of you that don't know, where's a gardenia? There's actually a gardenia behind and to the right of them. It's very far away, but it'll give you an idea. Those are all balanites trees behind them, and then if you look there, that to the tree on the right, that one is a sausage tree, and then if we go right, next one, that one, that is a gardenia. Seems like a bizarre place for a massive bird like that to nest. The least expected spot. I'll get you a bit closer to the gardenia, then you'll have a better idea, because right now it's not all that clear. There we go, Rupels. So different species of vultures will nest in different ways. I actually think Rupel's vultures are quite pretty, by vulture standards. Dr. Rob, the biggest challenge that faces vultures in the Mara, and yes, there are various vulture rescue projects and various bird projects that try to keep them safe and to counter this, is poisoning. So what essentially happens, it's usually aimed out for revenge, where a special cow or something has been killed, a carcass is poisoned and put down with various different types of poison, from strychnine to all sorts of different things, weed killers. And look, the carcass is poisoned, usually aimed at lions, and ultimately, of course, gets a whole load of victims, casualties of this whole process, often vultures. And up to 40, 50, even 100 vultures can be poisoned by one carcass at a time. Anyone joins it. A lot of these poisons are fat stored, so even when the vulture seems to be a little bit better, they then have to be kept in good condition, because if they start to lose condition, then the fat breaks down and that releases the poison back into their system. It is very difficult to treat them. If it does happen, it requires constant injections into their chest muscles, which then causes as a sedative and by vultures. And we handed that footage on to people who could use it to raise awareness of the fact that scavengers will scavenge off other scavengers. So a poisoned carcass, which then poisons a hyena, could then poison other animals by proxy, because there's a belief that nothing will eat a hyena, which obviously is not true. I'm glad we're seeing more vultures. It was starting to disturb me slightly just how few we were seeing. But they've obviously followed along with the migration. Such an iconic image. Come on, son. We need you to now break through the clouds and illuminate this vulture and all that it surveys. Jeffrey, you want to know if it's true that their droppings and urine destroy their nests and the trees that they nest? I'd have to double check that for you. I'm not... Sorry, I can't hear you. Vulture. Yes, yeah. Cool. Not yet, but I see quite a few vehicles down there in the valley. Where was I? Kirsty, what on earth was my last sentence? Oh, droppings and dead trees. I have absolutely no idea if that is true. I guess, in a way, it's time for them to breed. I'll double check that for you, I'm not sure. I haven't heard it before. That doesn't mean it's not the case. We obviously can't possibly keep track of all the various information that there is to know out here. I think our leopard face is going to go. The topi. While we do that, let's go back across to Steph and see if he's managed to stumble upon any more leopards.
Well, we've managed to find the tracks of Hosanna from last night. So it seems like he walked from Buffelshoek Dam out towards, not Treehouse, but out towards Philemon's Dip, and then came back down here. And I'll show you his track in a second, but this is what you've got to watch out for this time of the year. This is the sign of an animal here that kills more people than any other of the big five animals combined every single year. A very dangerous animal. This is the sign, fresh sign of a hippo, and hippo spray their dung out of their bodies by wagging their tail and defecating at the same time, and that sprays their dung onto these bushes. And this time of the year, why it's so dangerous for us here with hippo is that grass next to the dams is in short supply, because obviously that gets eaten first, and as the dry season progresses, hippo are moving further and further away from water sources, and in October they may not even go back to water, they may sleep in the shade. And hippo can be unpredictable because their safety, where they feel safe, is in the water. And so quite often they'll race up and down pathways, they'll come bursting out of the bush, running at you for no particular reason. And this time of the year, it spent the late night hours out exposed with evaporation happening, and so this was defecated out probably when the hippo was going to its feeding areas and not on the way back. But still, something that you've got to watch out for. Now, hippo dung has a very distinctive smell. But before I go into what it smells like, I just want to apologize for the intermittent sound and the picture going on and off. And it's because we just got a few internet problems today, as you would have noticed by long segments with me staying long time in the Mara, not being able to come back here. It's just one of those days where gremlins seem to be all over the place. You'll excuse us, I'm sure. Now, hippo dung has a very distinctive smell, and the reason why it has a distinctive smell is because a hippo has no glands on their body. They don't have a facial glands that they can rub onto a bush. They don't have anal pouches which they can use like hyena do to paste on grass. So all of their olfactory senses is internal, and therefore their dung is quite aromatic and very distinctive. It's quite sweet. It's not an unpleasant smell, but it's also not crushed grass mixed with water. It's got a, I don't quite know how to explain it. It grabs you in your nose like ammonia does. You know when you smell ammonia and it grabs the hollow in the back of your nose, and it gives you it opens your nasal cavities. That's what this does. We're just hearing some noises. Now let's see if I can show you Hosana's track. And he's walked down here. He came down this game path here. And let's see if I can show it to you. There's no evidence that he's walking to a kill or anything. He's not walking particularly fast. He's just walking. And now, of course, because I want to show you a track, I can't. All right, it doesn't really matter. What I'll do is we'll find a clearer track for you, and we'll show it to you then. In the meantime, without looking at me any further, you're going off to the Mara to Brent.
Well, welcome back. Now, as you can see, we've got some wildly beasts and some zebras around, but that is not all. We have some Magoro lionesses as well. So the oldest Magoro lioness, the female that's missing the tip to her tail, is not that one. And she is in front of us, and she is looking not well. And she's got quite a few fresh wounds. And as you can see, one on her tail. It also looks like she's got a hernia. So she is not looking too well. That fresh wound on her tail, plus the hernia. So, shame. Poor old girl. She is quite old. But luckily for her, she doesn't have to work too hard to get any food at the moment because the migration is still around. So only 2 of the 3 Magoro lionesses. Third could be mating with males somewhere. Shame, old girl. But you know, it's okay at the moment because there's lots of food around. Hopefully she does recover from that injury. Now the other lioness is looking quite fit and healthy, and about to see Jamie drive past as well. Yeah, she's getting up. Oh, beautiful. Bug fanatics wondering, could that hernia kill her over time? It's possible, most definitely. Wait, we're going to get Jamie right. Don't come down, wait for Jamie. I thought we were going to get the car driving between the lion's legs, but no such luck. Yeah. Oh, we still might get Jamie and the lion in the same shot as Jamie comes down a different road. Here she comes. Jamie should be coming into frame about now. No, lion, stop moving. There's Jamie. Oh, it looks like she's got a bit of a sore leg, but nothing serious. Definitely not looking nearly as bad as the oldest lioness. Vic was asking, why don't the Mara vets help the lions? Well, they do, Vic. Normally they do. I'm not sure why they're not helping this lion. Maybe they haven't. No one has reported that she's injured. So it is quite an interesting thing that. So I personally don't believe, and I say this is my personal opinion, that the vets should be fixing the lions and stuff every time they get injured from a natural injury. Now, of course, if it was an injury caused by human beings, a vehicle or a snare or a spear, then yes, by all means, we should interfere. But as a general rule, how's that, Manu? Perfect, cool. As a general rule, and I don't believe we should be interfering. And what happens is that you actually really mess with the dynamics, particularly with the males. If you keep fixing males, there's no place for the young males to come in or new males to take over. So it can affect the genetics. It can affect lots of different things. That's my personal opinion. I know a lot of people will disagree with me. Oh, beautiful. It's quite important to listen and watch, but life is hard out in the African bush. Now these girls have got all they need. They got water here, they got thousands of wildebeest and zebra not too far off. Flop. I think these ladies are just going to lie here next to the Murrin pits for the day, so I might come look for them this afternoon. But in the meantime, Steph has got the tallest African mammal.
Yeah, we've come from the tallest African mammal, Brent Leo Smith, to a tall African mammal, the giraffe. And this is a male giraffe, a bull giraffe. And, you know, just hearing about that story with Brent and the lioness with the hernia and the story I'm going to tell you now, there's a darker side to where we are here. And it's sometimes quite incredible to think what animals are capable of. Recently, there was an accident in a reserve 2 days ago where a giraffe actually wounded and from reports fatally wounded a person by trampling them to death. And I don't know, we've just been discussing it while we've been walking now. My impression of giraffe are docile, timid, shy creatures, but they do weigh 1.5 tons. They stand 5.5 meters tall, and they are part of Africa's, large mammal group. And I suppose if you get yourself into a situation that they don't enjoy, they can inflict some massive damage. Just something quite incredible. Are we quite sure? They're quite nice to be around. You don't realize when you're in a vehicle, a bald head. So their armpit stands higher than the top of my head. I'm 6 foot tall, and they're about this much taller than me. So I could walk underneath that giraffe's belly. Can you believe it? And he wouldn't even feel a tickle. He's busy watching us here. We could probably get a bit closer to him. Let's see. From the looks of things, he's actually a blonde giraffe, and that's actually what's intriguing me. You get brunette and you get blonde giraffe. They're born lighter and they do get darker with age, but you get very dark giraffe and very light giraffe, and this one looks like a light giraffe. Difficult to see because we're looking into the sun, so even myself is battling. And the wind is completely wrong. So not only can he see us, but we've got the wind blowing from us to him, and that is creating it's creating an expansion of his comfort zones. And I'll explain that in a second. So I'm just busy checking window. Actually, it's not blowing onto him. We're okay where we are now. Let's go a bit closer and go and have a look. Oh, he's in good condition. Beautiful male giraffe. Here we can get a better view of him. And he's now moving off. So obviously he'll move off a few steps and then he'll re-establish where he's comfortable with us. So there you can see we walked forward 10 steps. I would imagine that he's going to walk away 10 steps or so, and then he'll turn and he'll feed if he's still bothered by us. No, he's going off to go and eat some grass. Let's see if he stops there and turns. There he goes. So now he's re-established that comfort zone. So if I could draw it for you in the sand, let me do this for you. If I could draw comfort zones in the sand for you, let's do it here. And use this stick. So now this is the animal. X marks the spot, right? Around that animal, quite close, is their fight or fright zone. And if you get into this zone, an animal, no matter what it is, giraffe, in the case of the accident recently, impala or whatever, in this zone, if you give an animal a startlet, it will instantaneously decide to run away or fight you, fight for its life. This is the fight or flight zone. You do not want to be in this zone if at all possible. Around this is a zone which we were just skirting the edge of with this particular giraffe. And that was the zone at which it is comfortable with your presence, doesn't feel threatened by you, but will maintain a safe distance away. Now, this giraffe, if I walked 10 steps in, he would move his step 10 steps back. And so this line would extend. And as I get closer, he will move until such a point as we chase him away. Outside of this zone, they will either notice you and completely disregard you, or completely ignore you, or you could completely ignore them. And this is the zone that we try and stay in when we are on bushwalk. We try and be in the zone where we're in the animal's gravity, but we're not causing them to react to us. So they're not stopping what they're doing to look at us or to move away at all. So our goal here on bushwalk and in vehicles, in fact, is to be within that animal space, but for them to carry on acting naturally. And they are either aware of us or unaware of us, preferably. And this is the zone that we want to be in. This is where we like to be in. In this particular case, we were already inside this giraffe's comfort zone, where its alert zone, where it stopped what it was doing to watch us, and then it had to re-establish that zone as we moved a little bit closer to it. Interesting, hey? Now, with people, you will be able to feel the same sort of thing. I find it noticeably in queues and on aeroplanes. When you're standing in a queue in a shop, you will notice when somebody comes and stands too close to you. They'll be in your alert zone. You'll stop what you're doing and you will either move away from them a little bit to re-establish that distance, and if they come closer, you'll then move a little bit further away, and that's just you getting into that zone. And if somebody had to walk up to you all of a sudden and get right into your space, you then got a choice between pushing them away, giving them a smack, or turning and running away. And that's that fight or flight zone that I was talking about. Try it when you're out there. You'll see exactly what I mean. All right, so what we're going to be doing now is sending you a couple of countries away, and we're going to be sending you over to Jamie, who's got some, I think, Thompson's gazelles to show you.
So here we are, right in the centre of the migration on the freshly burned ground. Well, I say freshly, it's now been about a month and a half. So the area has well and truly recovered. You can see places where the grass is long, but you can also see quite clearly that the animals are enjoying the short grass. Bright green and full of nutrients. This is really beautiful. The black and white of the zebras up against the very vivid green of the grass. I need more adjectives for the word green. I'm open to suggestions. Please feel free. I can't keep using the word verdant. That's James's word. So no topi yet. I mean, it's quite actually surprisingly tricky to try and find an entire herd of topi out here. We have found some Thompson's gazelle. A little bit earlier, the male was chasing the ladies around backwards and forwards. He now seems to have... Oh, no. There's two males. The one on the right clearly larger than the one on the left. There was absolutely no chance that that male was going to stand up to him. Ah, wind is howling. Absolutely howling. And there are all of the wildebeest. Dotting the plains. I actually really like this area. Oh, and a marabou stork. I really like this area. It's one of my favourite places to go. And I don't know why, because it's not quite as pretty as other parts of the Mara. I just find that it's incredibly productive. There's always something happening around here. Okay. Now that we've done a full, almost 270 view, let's go look for some topi. And we can chat about the migration as we go along. You know, it's 60,000 hectares of the Mara Triangle. 60,000 plus hectares of the Mara Triangle, and Brent somehow still manages to nip in front of me for the lions, which is great. Means he can stay with the lions and I'll go look for the topi. Jason, yes, you don't really see buffalo herds in amongst the migration. I don't think they particularly like the pandemonium. But as it gets dark and the wildebeest start being hunted by the lions and the hyenas of the Mara, it turns into absolute chaos, and I don't think the buffalo particularly enjoy that. So if they can, they will avoid the antelope. But buffalo, oh, James Richard, I've got a surprise for you. There you go. We spoke about these flowers yesterday on the... No, it wasn't yesterday, it was the day before. Why we aren't seeing more of the flay ink flowers. There you go. We've got one. We have managed one. Isn't that very pretty? Sorry, Jason, we've got distracted from the chat of the buffalo. It's just that these flowers this time last year covered the entire Mara. And now, all of a sudden, this year they seem to be late. And we were having a bit of a discussion about why that might be, with the rains, with the late arrival of the migration, perhaps with the fire. But no, there we go. We have at least one flay ink flower. We should, of course, have many. But there you go. Little surprise for you. And many others, actually. I know. Oh, there's lots of them. They're coming. They're coming. They're all in the road now. And there we go. Something for Aaron and many other jackal lovers. There we go. And we have a black-backed jackal. And Kelly, thank you very much. You are absolutely correct. We have a black-backed jackal trotting along over the emerald grass, not the verdant grass. Let's go with emerald. Jackal, of course, will also be having an absolute field day. And the same... Oh, has he found something? Look at his big ears. The same will apply for when the baby topi are actually born. Got distracted that wildebeest couldn't get up again. Now, don't disappear behind the grass and then stop there. That's not helpful at all. We need to find a jackal then. There should be lots of pups around at the moment because there's so much food. That would be really special. I don't think we found any active dens this year. Lapwing responding angrily to the presence of the jackal. They don't want it there. Jackals will, of course, come and raid their nests and steal their eggs and perhaps even kill their chicks. So they don't like it when a jackal is around. The wildebeest are largely ignoring it. You might see some of the youngsters watch it. For the most part, they're not bothered by the presence of one jackal. It is far too small. Oh! I say that, and then one of the little youngsters charged it. All right, let's go over to Brent, see what he's found.
So I'm not sure what's going on. We've found some more lions and they are running. Well, this one boy looks like he's running from two other boys. So quite interesting. We could be in for a bit of a battle. I don't recognize these two little boys. These guys, I don't recognize that lion at all. You, Manu? I recognize the one they're chasing. He was seen quite a few times with a bunch of females. Oh, they're getting closer to him now. Is there a car behind me, Manu? Yeah? Far. Oh. It looks like you might actually catch him. I know, then we stopped running. Got too close. Thought, oh, I better wait for backup. I don't actually... Geez, that's a big line. Okay, I'm going to turn around. Because there's cars and stuff and... This guy's got no tail. So I've never seen these two little boys that are chasing the older lion. But... Carol says the young male lion looks like a dog. But I mean, is this another male? Yeah, that is another male. And he's got no tail. Like literally, absolutely no tail. Let me just get us into a good position again. Okay, sorry guys, just trying to get through here. Sante! Sante! Where they? Okay, there's another road coming up. I'm just going to get ahead of them. Oh, bump. Sorry, they're just moving quite quickly. Sorry, guys. I'm just trying to get us into a good spot. In case they actually does catch him. Okay, so this male I've seen with a pride of 4 females that we nicknamed the Grass Pride. We're not sure who they are or where they come from. You can hear him growling. He's very upset with those little blonde boys that are chasing him. So he had a wound on his back leg. We've seen him quite a few times. Look at this guy. He is a monster. I mean, he doesn't have a big mane, but this is a monster of a lion. That is a monster lion. Very boxy mane. Where's laziness? Oh, here comes laziness. Well, we're gonna definitely be able to identify these young boys quite easily. I mean, that sort of very boxy mane, and then the second male coming in is even more distinct because he's got no tail, almost no tail whatsoever. I'll wait till we see him a bit better. Male lions are nomadic. There just happens to be 2 versus 1. So they've stopped chasing. The other guy's still running off in the distance, but the second young male has stopped chasing. There he is. And we'll be able to see the lack of a tail. He looks quite funny, this guy without a tail. Hey, funny looking. What happened to your tail? definite story behind how he lost his tail. I wish I knew it. So I've never seen these two boys before. You can actually see there's quite a. Just zoom in the top of the tail there for me, Manu. There looks like there's a much bigger old injury there, and you can see he walks with a little bit of a funny limp, and that's probably from the same place he got, well, the injury that lost him his tail. It's fresh. He's lost his tail recently. It's bleeding. Well, that's a very distinct tail. Well, he's a little stumpy. Here we go. So these lions could have come from the Serengeti. They could have come from the other side of the Mara. And especially with the migration round, you do get nomadic males. What Steph says, it's amazing how you can see every muscle. Indeed it is. They look a bit hungry as well. Well, let's try to get a bit closer. You never know what's going to happen next, guys. That's why we're out here every day. That was incredible. So I just want to get a bit closer so we can have a better look at that tail wound. Well, I have no idea what happened. There's the other male. You see him under the tree in the distance there. So the chase has sort of slowed down to a walk rather than a run now. Interesting times ahead with the Mara lions, with new boys, males. They've still got some time to go before they're going to be big enough to challenge for a territory. Very interesting stuff. Let's have a look at that other guy. It looks like he might have got out of the way. Where'd he go, Manu? Behind the bushes there somewhere. For the males. Okay, well, we're going to sit here for a little longer, see how this pans out. In the meanwhile, let's send you back to South Africa, to Steph, who's eating some grass.
I was chewing on some grass, but I wouldn't be able to tell you my story, and it's such a cool story. You know, I quite enjoy conceptualizing things, and in particular, bringing into context how much more hardcore the insect world is. So if we had to scale things up from the micro world to our size, to the scale and the ratios that we can understand, this grass would be like a, I don't know, 50-story building. At the top of this building in the penthouse is its resident. It's the king of this particular castle, and the whole night this poor thing has been blowing around in the wind in the most unbelievable fashion. And it's created itself a night nest. It's a spider that created a small little nest inside here and is waiting until it gets a bit warmer before it comes out and hunts for the day. And you can see her inside there. Now, I do have a tendency to develop a bit of a shake when I'm trying to hold things still, so excuse the vibration. That is the wind, not me. Mm-hmm. Can you see her inside there? I think so. Just a little bit. It's her face that you're looking at. Yes, no? So let me point her out to you. So her face is at the tip of this grass blade. You see it? There. Let me turn her around so that you can see her abdomen. Let me turn her around this side. I'll take it off. So here's her mouth. Okay. That black dot is her mouth. You see that? And if I turn her around, I'm going to do this quite slowly. That stripy thing there is her abdomen. And just to keep the focal length the same, let's turn her around again and see if we can see her face. So those are her 4 front legs facing forward. See that? The tip of the grass. No? Yes?
Yeah, that's it.
Cool, eh? There she is from the bottom. A bit better silhouetted against the sky. How amazing is that camouflage, eh? And she was obviously just spending the night here. And what she'll do is, as soon as it gets a bit warmer, she'll then move on. So I'm just going to put her in the top of these grasses over here until she gets warm. Now, Nana, you asked if I really enjoy these 8-legged creatures. They are my absolute favorite. So not just spiders, but insects in general. And it's mainly because they are the most insanely overdeveloped and sometimes so specialized organisms, and they share the same planet as what we do. They're here right now, they're all around us, and they've got the most unbelievable attributes. Come and have a look here. I mean, like this guy here. Here's a piece of moving grass. Let's show you here, see if you can see this guy. So in the open, right there, that's the head of a praying mantis. Let me move him here. So at my fingertip, there he is there. That is a praying mantis called a grass mantid, one of the best, most highly adapted predators of insects around. That's its eyes, body. Here is its grabbing claws, and it'll even sway in the wind to catch an insect. Now, can you all see it? Mm-hmm. Let me take my hand away and have a look at how that disappears in the grass. Very cool, eh? Right. So our tech genius, Conrad, has decided that what will fix this poor internet quality that we have is quickly for us to go do a tech loop, and we're going to do a changeover to another system quickly, and that should bring you back to us with a bit of a higher quality internet connection. So you're going to be going away for a short bit, and then you'll be coming back again. We'll be right here. Welcome back, and hopefully that solved the problem, and you are going to be with us now or uninterrupted for the last few minutes of the drive. There's actually 45 minutes left or so of the drive, so, oh, excuse me, 15 minutes. Excuse me, 15. It's this hot sun on my head, you know, it's burning away all my reason. All right, so we've managed to make a change, and so thank you very much for your patience. And so, yeah, basically, just to finish off that story with the praying mantis, to put it into some context, that grass-like praying mantis would be like me walking past this stick, and all of a sudden, the stick smashes out an arm as long as one of the branches with spikes this big on it and impales me and drags me in and eats me. That is basically how I've imagined the insect world to be. Just these incredibly complex, highly specialized insects with some of the most diverse and sophisticated camouflage and hunting and everything techniques that you've ever seen in your life. And so I quite enjoy the you know, visualizing that. I suppose it's where my unique imagination comes from. Now around here, and before we finish, there's a tree that I've promised that I'd keep you updated on, with a big cavity in it. And it's the perfect nesting place for owls. And so the last time that I was on bushwalk, I showed you this cavity. We're in this area again, just by chance, I promise. And I think that's the tree there. And I want to go and see if we can show. It might be the tree. It's going to take me a bit of time to actually find it, I'll be honest. But we will eventually find it. And when I do, we'll have a look in it and see if there's anything in residence just yet. It was the single most epic tree for a bird nest that I've recently found. And we're going to try and see if there's anything in it. Oh, cool. What I am told is that while I look for this, Jamie's got one of my favorite antelopes to show you.
Look what we have. It seems as though I've entirely failed in my mission to find the topee, and have in fact found every other antelope under the sun, except the topee. We've got a massive eland bull. You can see the heat haze is now starting to gather as the morning heats up. And that dewlap underneath his neck is actually, apart from playing a protective role to protect his neck, it also acts as a thermoregulation device. So he can actually cool himself down, particularly where they live in arid conditions or where it's very, very warm. Eland are good at cooling themselves down for an antelope that is essentially the same size as a buffalo. Seems like the theme is half-tail day. First the lion, now this eland. I don't think he's got a full tail there. Looks very odd. Oh, this wind, no. We're going to have to move on. It's so far away that the wind is actually shaking the camera as it howls over the plains. We'll keep going. We've still got some time. We could still find a birthing topee. I love eland, and I wish we could get it. Well, I'll aim for a nice close-up. How? I have done my utmost to avoid Brent, and there he is off to the right of me. Doing my best, I really am. I give up. I give up. Now he's stealing my route home as well. Watch now, he's going to find... Now he's going to go find a topee giving birth just in front of us, just where we were about to go. And the worst part is I'm about to go through some serious mush to get to where he is. Yes, Mrs. Zero, an eland is indeed bigger than a topee, quite a lot bigger. So an eland is the biggest antelope that we'll see out here, the biggest antelope full stop. And as I said, they're roughly the size of a buffalo. So a big eland bull is close on 900 kilograms. So that's over 1,800 pounds. They are large antelope. And even Mary, the Talek eland, Mary, I don't quite know Mary's full story, but basically if you go to the other side of the river and you go across to Talek Gate, there is an eland called Mary who lives there. Now Mary has been taught some very, very bad habits by tourists, as you can imagine, a habituated eland, and she likes to come and search for food. So Mary can stick her head, and these cars are big, they're bigger than the Juma vehicles. Mary can come and stick her head right into the car, and she does, regularly, which is quite dangerous because both male and females have horns. She's a big girl, a very big lady, and she has a pushy personality, let's put it that way. So she'll often stick her entire head in and you end up grappling with her horns and trying to push her out again. Especially when we're on our full day missions, or when we were on our full day missions on the other side, we'd always have food with us, and obviously she could smell the fruit, particularly dried fruit. She had a tendency to try and steal our dried apricots. Loves a dried apricot, old Mary. So it gives you an idea of how I'm sure I've got a picture somewhere that I could show you of just how big a female eland is, and a male is about a third bigger, if not an extra 50% bigger. They're enormous animals. She's quite intimidating, actually. It's odd that she's never chosen to go and find herself her own herd. She just sticks around. She likes it at the gate, or in Talek town itself. Sometimes on a Friday night, on our way home, we see all the revelers going to enjoy the sterling nightlife of Talek, and she's always around. I missed, unfortunately, the comms from FC this morning are a little bit patchy, but apparently I think Steph has found the tree that he was searching for.
I have, and I'm actually quite amazed that I managed to do it because, to be honest, we had wandered onto this tree the last time. I wasn't paying much attention and we were just wandering along now. I didn't know if we were going to find it, but I did. And that is the aperture that you're looking at there that I find to be perfectly suited to an owl nest. Now, there are no residents in there yet, unfortunately for me and us, but we will, as often as we can, come and check this particular tree. It's an old dead leadwood. So I would imagine that there is just been squirrel after bush baby, after squirrel, after bird that is nested in there and probably filled up the entire cavity in the middle of the tree with a succession of levels. And at some point they will be heavy. Oh, there's a genet's tail. There, the top. You see its tail there? So genet is making a home inside there. Epic. Yes, that's cool. See if he sticks his face out. So there's obviously no birds in here because that genet would have just absolutely smashed them, and is now probably looking for precisely that, a place to stay, but also a meal. And I'm very glad that we got to see its tail. Let's hope it sticks its face out and has a look at us. I don't think it is going to though. Yes, what a nice surprise. Genet tail in the middle of the day. In fact, we were just talking about a very famous tree with a genet in it. What did we call her? Janet Jackson, who has her nest far further away than this one. But in any case, we now know where to come and search for another one. Although this isn't close to any roads. In fact, to get here with a car, you'd probably be easier to have yourself airdropped here or fling yourself out of an ejection seat, because we're pretty much in one of the biggest wilderness blocks that we have over here. Yo. Tina, a genet, you'd like to know what exactly is this animal that I'm talking about. Tina, a genet is very similar to a ferret or a mink, ferret, it's stretched out mongoose. I'm trying to think of the North American or an Asiatic equivalent, but would belong to the same family. They're the vivirids, so skunk, civet, genets, mongooses are all part of the same group, and a genet is just basically a stretched out, a stripy ferret. If I were to, draw a conclusion from something that is common in books as we were growing up. So a stretched out stripy ferret, or a cat-like mongoose, if I could put it to you that way. Fairly easy to find pictures of, G-E-N-E-T. And it had a black tip on the end of the tail, which means that it was the large spotted genet. So that was the specific one. Sharon, you'd like to know if they can be tamed for pets there. Sharon, I absolutely do not want to answer that question. I abhor the pet trade and everything that it stands for. And so, no, they cannot be trained for pets. In fact, if you took one and you had it in your house, you'll almost instantaneously be affected by some deathly disease that will kill everyone in the building. So please don't tame a genet. Right, sorry. But now that we know that one is living over here, we will come back and have a look at it again. I'm hoping that cavity actually gets filled up by something just as spectacular, but diurnal. Right, let's carry on with our wanderings. Today I can feel is going to be one of those windy, blustery days where the temperature is 80 degrees Fahrenheit plus, and the wind makes it feel like something out of an oven, and it's going to make running this afternoon one of those dehydrating things, but it's going to be fun in any case. All right, why don't we go all the way up to the Mara and go and see what Brent Leo Smith has been keeping himself busy with.
Oh, well, what a morning it's been. Lions towards the end, Steph enthralling you on foot, Jamie being cut off by me at every corner, and I do think my highlights of this morning was those elephants. They were absolutely spectacular. Now, we will be back with you this afternoon, both Jamie and myself, from the Masai Mara. This is where the Ololo... this is where the Ololo Pride's been hanging out, so I'm just having a quick look for them. But Jamie has got some lovely pachyderms.
So while Brent has a look for the Ololo Pride last minute, we have a family portrait. A really lovely family portrait. Big, big female. One youngster. 3 youngsters, but one very small. And you're most likely looking at youngsters from different mothers. I think 2 of those are probably hers, the eldest and the youngest, and the middle one could well be the calf of another female. But because the bonds in an elephant herd are so strong, they will often spend their time together like this, away from mom, but go to another female. Oh, she's beautiful, that cow. Absolutely enormous female. Those tusks are just spectacular. One thing about the elephants in the Mara, the females really do have enormous tusks. Nancy, you say multiple generations of elephants. Yep, it's pretty much perfectly sums it up. And now they're now they're walking towards us. What a beautiful scene. You could just see the little one in the middle swaying along. And the female towering over the others. She is very round, but I don't think that she's... I don't know. I mean, I'm sure that little one must be hers. Hard to tell. But such a small elephant would probably be with Mum. And I suspect it's hers, but she really is very round. She's positively barrel-like. She's just a big girl. This is a beautiful way to finish off our sunrise safari. Hopefully this afternoon we'll be able to find your topi, or various other things that the African wilderness has up its sleeve. All that remains now as we reach the end of the safari is to say a big thank you to all of you, as well as to our tech team, for making sure we managed to get most of our sunrise safari across to you wherever you happen to be. The biggest thank you, as always, goes to all of you. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for sending through your questions and your comments. We'll see you in a few short hours for the Sunset Safari.